Hello, and welcome back to Mortals and Portals, a Pathfinder real play podcast. I'm your host and GM, Zach, and joining me at the table is...
Adam, and I play Jhuls, an Azur-Keti bard.
I'm Joel, and I play Dax, a kobold rogue.
Ryan, I am Ryu, a tiefling magus.
Karen and I play Waltz, a human champion.
Great job, everyone. Last time on Mortals and Portals, Joel killed Dunadas. Yeah, that's what he did. Yeah, I remember that. You guys remember
Dude.
that? Yeah.
You know, you're out.
You're out. It did have to be done.
And no one's ever going to find out.
Yeah.
For Digsby's crew.
It's
I
his
wish
dirty
right
little
before you
secret.
died, you had Dunadas say, on second thought.
No, wait.
There actually is a whole different way we could go about this.
Oh, wait, I just realized I dreamed that whole thing where I thought I could turn it into a nuke.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
All right. Yeah, so Dax had to make a tough decision where he had to basically kill Dunadas because, just one more reminder, Dunadas knows how to turn the Arcanor into what is essentially a nuke, and Sindor knows that he knows how to do that, and Dunadas thinks that that's why Sindor brought him here. So Dunadas thought it'd be safer after thinking about it in his head over and over again to just make sure that that information dies with him, so neither Sindor or anyone he's aligned with can use Dunadas' knowledge to create this weapon. And Dunadas, already feeling responsible for what he's done with the Arcanor in the first place, did not want that to happen, and this was his sacrifice, his contribution to making sure Sindor does not succeed. So Dax took out this very special poison. It's called Firthator, which means peaceful poison. Meanwhile, Waltz was preparing for his fight against Borek to become leader of the Drake Knights, so he's somewhat reluctantly challenging him because he had a vision when Borek killed his foe and became the leader that all of Scalekeep, Nisserine perhaps, was destroyed, so he feels that he needs to correct that course of action by ensuring he is not the leader and stepped up to challenge him. And then at the same time, we had Ryu and Jhuls fresh off exploding a boat in Kurapan, and Ryu killing, dozens of Drake Knights. They started to regroup, try and get on Smith, and just as they're about to do that, guess what? Desmar showed up, the desert drake who is in Gainmar, which is on the other side of the river from Pagos, because if you recall, Kurapan is built right on the intersection of those two regions. So Desmar has left his desert climate and has come into Pagos to kill Jhuls and Ryu, it would seem. And that is where we ended our session. So that is where we'll start our session with Jhuls and Ryu. Woo! So if you recall, Desmar just came out of the sand. He is sailing over the river. He's a little bit of a ways off. Jhuls, you're about 30-ish feet from Ryu. Ryu still has some straggling Drake Knights. Both of you just cleared much of them out with Jhuls' wave and Ryu's gale blast. And Smith is a little bit ways off as well. So you're still a little bit scattered. Still got to get your bearings. And there are still some Drake Knights nearby. And they say, "Restrain that hippogriff! They're going to try and escape!" "Right, on it!" And two of them are going to run up to Smith, and they're going to try and grapple Smith, so we'll see how that goes together. Alright, so one of them runs up to grapple Smith, and Smith kicks him in the chest, and he stumbles back. Ugh! At the same time, another one is jumping on Smith's back, trying to restrain him as well, and Smith shakes back and forth, bursts his wings out, casts the Drake Knight off to the side, and lets out a shriek. And another Drake Knight is going to run up to Ryu and also try and grapple Ryu.
Hey.
And fails, so Ryu, you just sort of duck under his arms as he tries to clasp them around you, and then he's going to try and trip you.
Tripping a blind man is shameful.
Yeah, that's pretty rude.
What's your reflex DC, Ryu?
+7, so 17.
Alright, he got an 18. So, Ryu, you're feeling frantic. You hear Desmar coming. The last time you faced a Drake, you got kidnapped. And you just hear Smith behind you, and you're very exhausted, and you turn around to start to run, and lost your bearings for a moment, not sensing all the auras with Desmar distracting you. And the Drake Knight sticks his foot out, and you trip on it and slide in the snow in front of him.
I hate the snow.
And another Drake Knight, who is covered with some water that splashed off of Jhuls' wave, shakes his hair back and forth and says, "I'm guessing you're not on our side." And he's going to pull out his little axe and start running up to you and try and make an attack. Does a 17 hit you?
No.
I picture you doing, like, in Loki, Tom Hiddleston, where he, like, flips his hair back every time he dodges something. I don't know if you guys have talked about. But you have your wet seaweed hair, and you flip it back, and water splashes off right as you dodge his swing. And that'll take us to Ryu.
They're like, oh, he's so handsome.
Oh, God, he's beautiful.
My goodness.
So having the last thing that happened was Jhuls coming up and helping Ryu out, take out a bunch of Drake Knights. My one-track mind, I think, is still going a bit here, despite the fact that he thinks this Drake is on its way. Knowing that he's beaten a Drake before, knowing that it only took Jhuls, Dax, and Waltz to take out a Drake, I think Ryu's maybe thinking that he could potentially still handle this situation.
I was worried this would happen.
First off, peeved that I just got tripped by a Drake Knight.
Sorry, I'm picturing this like meme I always see where it's like a barbarian waiting for the dragon to land, and it's just some guy with like a baseball bat like reared up, where you're like, oh, the Drake's coming, let me just whack him with my sword when he comes right up to me.
Here, run into this. I turn my head back towards Jhuls and I say, great timing, Jhuls. You can help me take out the rest of these Drake Knights. You start with those ones. And I point to the ones closest to him and I say, I'll start with this one. And I'll point to the one that tripped me.
He's looking down at you.
I'll take an action to get up. And then
just kind of stand up in front of him.
I want to say I still have my spell strike because I remember getting it back and I don't think I used it again. So I want to spell strike the guy that just tripped me with my gouging claw.
Okay.
Not a great roll. 14.
That misses. So you raise to your feet, some snow falls off of you after you're literally explaining in front of this guy that you're going to kill him and that Jhuls is going to kill the other ones. Then you like look back at him and you go to swing your sword, and this is where you once again realize just how exhausted you are from how long you've been fighting, and you're sort of surprised that your strike wasn't as fast as you thought it would be, and he is able to block it. And he goes, ha ha ha, looks like you're out of time.
I'll breathe like a heavy breath, like you said, realizing how fatigued I am. Turn back to Jhuls again and say, Jhuls, any other day I think I could take all these Drake Knights and that Drake that's on its way, but maybe let's get out of here.
What? I can't hear you from over here. You're going to have to talk louder.
Another roar echoes across Kurapan. Jhuls, you turn your head again and see Desmar fast approaching. He is clearly larger than all the other Drakes you've seen, and some of that you thought was deceptive because he's like far away, but you just see him growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and that'll take us to Jhuls.
Am I preoccupied with any Drake Knights around me?
There's just one in front of you.
Just the one? Okay, first I'd like to punch him.
Okay. He's wiping the water out of his eyes from when you flipped your hair. Stop with the sprinkles!
I love that. You scallywag.
He's got salt in his eyes.
22.
That hits.
4 damage.
All right, you punch him square in the nose. He kind of holds his nose like, oh, come on, we're using weapons here.
And then I'm going to just run towards Ryu.
Wait, what are you
I'm
doing?
going to punch him, and then I'll just
never mind.
sprint.
Whatever.
I'll run to Ryu and say, Ryu, we have to leave. What are we doing? We can't waste any more time with these stupid Drake Knights.
Hey,
What?
not stupid.
Okay.
Your seaweed hair looks great, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. I'll punch that guy now.
Okay.
It's a 21.
It's...
And another 4 damage.
Jeez. I take it back. Your hair looks stupid.
I just grabbed Ryu's wrist, and I don't know like how far away we were from each other at the start of my turn.
He was 20 feet away.
Okay, I guess I'll end my turn kind of grabbing Ryu's wrist.
You hear the Drake Knights yell, if they get away, Sindor's gonna kill us all. Right. And they're all going to try and just jump on you guys, essentially, and restrain you as you try and close the distance to Smith.
Bring it on.
What is your fortitude DC?
+7.
All right. So as you try and run off with Ryu, you feel an arm grab onto the top of your shoulder and sort of grab onto your billowy pirate shirt and hold you back.
You're not going anywhere.
Let go of me, you fop doodle.
What?
quite certain all these are made up.
A fop doodle,
I think you
for our
just
listeners,
smash the keyboard.
is a mindless person, a fool, or a simpleton.
I remember my teachers using that a lot in high school.
And as he has you restrained, the one that you just punched is like rubbing his eyes, and he goes, "Oh, let me have a shot at him." And while you're restrained, the guy kind of spins your shoulder around to make you face him, and then he's going to try and punch you in the face.
Okay.
And you are
my hair
flat-footed, so you have -2 AC, and he rolls a 19. Does that hit you?
That hits.
As you spin around, you get punched square in the nose. How's it feel? Oh, that really hurt. Good.
Wait, how much damage did you say I take?
3 damage.
Okay.
And then another one's going to run up and try and grapple Ryu. And he nat 20s.
Why are they suddenly rolling well?
Yeah, it's like all that, it all built up to this. So Ryu, he sprints up and basically linebacker tackles you in the waist to the ground and is like on top of you, like pinning your arms down. Not so strong now, are you? And that'll take us to Smith. Smith is going to run up to the group, specifically to the Drake Knight on top of Ryu. Lets out a massive shriek. The Drake Knight turns his head. Oh no! I'm sorry! And he is going to slash at him with his talons
Get him, Smith.
twice. And this massive claw just comes across and tears across this Drake Knight's face and slings him off of Ryu. He flies about 10 feet and just slides through the snow with a trail of blood. And Smith unfurls his wings, standing magnificently over Ryu.
Attaboy.
And that'll take us to Ryu, who is now no longer restrained, conveniently.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, thanks, Sniff. So I'm just super ticked off now, and I just want to I'm assuming Jhuls is within 5 feet of me, right?
Yes.
But I'm just so angry at this point. I'm just gonna blast out my aura, cast Gale Blast, shove anyone around me that fails their fortitude save.
Including Jhuls and Smith.
Exactly. I'm just ticked off. Urgh! Enough!
Okay, Jhuls, roll a fortitude save.
12.
Smith
Shoot.
failed too. So, let me roll for the Drake Knights as well.
Oh gosh.
Okay,
This might
everybody
as well
failed.
happen, you know?
Ryu
Oh my
stands
God.
up
Well
and,
done.
and does like the Dragon Ball Z, fists clenched down at his side while he looks skyward and lets out a yell. It forms a crater in the snow around him as everyone around him is thrown back 5 feet. Drake Knight, Smith, Jhuls, everyone.
And with my last action then, I want to just try to do Jhuls a solid here so that he can maybe do something to get us out of here on his turn. And I just want to make sure that whatever Drake Knight is nearest to him can't do as well on his turn, essentially. So I want to try to demoralize after blasting out this aura and pushing everyone aside. And I'll call out, "Leave us alone!"
He's crawling out of the snow. The sky is an endless pit of energy. And that'll take us to Jhuls.
I will run to Ryu, grab his wrist again, and then drag him over and push him up onto Smith.
And real quick, technically you did take damage from the Gale Blast. 2.
Whose side are you on?
I know, right?
Dead now.
Okay.
And so does Smith and the Drake Knights.
Yep. Good job.
I did it.
He did it. Is friendly fire on? I don't know. Only one way to find out.
Oh yeah, no, Zach, I do have that setting turned off
okay.
on Path Builder, so
Yeah.
it doesn't count. So Ryu, are you going to resist me pushing you up onto Smith?
No, I think I'm for this at this point.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Thank you. Let's not make this
It's
more
like, no.
complicated than it has already been. So I'll put him on first, and then I will get on the back end and kick Smith's butt.
All right, give me
with my legs.
an animal handling check with a +4 circumstance bonus.
All right. Then that is a 13.
Right. So you hop up onto Smith. You see Smith looking over his shoulder, eyes bugging out of his head. You follow his gaze and see Desmar. A cloud of snow is forming beneath him as the mass and power of his wings is kicking up snow. His eyes are dead set on the three of you. You give Smith a kick, With not a lot of control, and you can sense fear in Smith, he sort of kicks off the snow and frantically flaps his wings, wobbling back and forth. And as you look over your shoulder, you see Desmar, his scales illuminating a bright blue. And he unleashes a cloud of sand that is charged with electrical energy that flies towards you. All the Drake Knights, what? No! Ah, it's gonna hit us! And you all take off into the sky as it hits the ground and erupts in an explosion of electricity and vaporizes a bunch of Drake Knights, turning them into skeletons, instantly singeing the feathers of Smith as he takes off to the sky. And Desmar corrects his course and sails after you. And with that, we'll cut over to Waltz.
Dang it.
Wait, Jhuls, I changed my mind. I think I can take them.
Shut up. No.
So Waltz, just a reminder, you have stepped up onto this platform to challenge Borek. You feel if you fail, it leads to death for many people.
Oh, yeah.
At least
I've been
Digsby's
waiting for
crew.
this.
Maybe you guys would fail. Borek has just shoved the goblin that was sort of orchestrating this encounter out of the way, eager to fight you. He is trudging towards you. He is massive, shirtless, just covered in hair. He has boar tusks sticking out of his mouth, just a big, thick brow and massive muscles lumbering towards you, holding his maul like it's a child's toy. Can you roll me initiative?
Yes. Ooh, nat 1 on initiative.
Oh, no.
Whoopsies.
Hey, got the nat 1 out of the way, though.
Yeah, that's good. Taryn, can you roll me a percentage die for your nat 1?
35.
All right. And also, I wanted to say this at the start of this episode. I keep forgetting, but all of you get a hero point because there's a lot at stake right now. And I know that hero points so far have just been reroll and still fail, but you all get a hero point again. So
I
just a
definitely
reminder.
forgot I had mine.
I still have 2 as well.
Yeah,
Oh, you never used yours? Well, you can have 2. Yeah.
I
no
probably
limit.
should have used it during that encounter, but I forgot I had it since somebody wouldn't let me play.
All right. So what I've decided will be the consequence for this nat 1. You are going to be flat-footed for this round.
Oh.
So Waltz, you see this beastkin boar man lumbering towards you. You hear the crowd cheering. Your heart is pounding. You are thinking how you're going to go through with this, actually kill this person if it's the right thing to do. But at the same time, you know if you don't take this seriously, then you might die, and then your vision will come true, perhaps. And while you're thinking of all this, before you know it, Borek is in front of you with a maul above his head, letting out a roar and swinging downward.
Oh, no.
Does a 26 hit you?
Sure does.
Good start. Good start. So he lets out a loud roar as the maul comes swinging down. You're in ever stance, so you raise your shield, and it bashes hard against your shield. The shield slams backwards and hits you in the face, hits you in the chest. You still feel its power beat against your bones, your muscles. You just feel exhausted just from absorbing that one hit. And he says, slower than I thought. And he looks like he doesn't respect you at this point and throws his maul back up on his shoulder and just with his offhand is going to try and push you, almost to make a mockery of you in front of everyone. Does an 18 beat your fortitude DC?
Negative.
All right, so you shake your head back and forth, realize that this is do or die, this fight has started, you cannot afford to be dwelling on what you have to do, and you push back with your shield as he pushes, meeting his force and offsetting his shove, but you still realize that he was kind of lazily doing that with one arm, and you're getting a glimpse of just how strong he is, and it is your turn.
And did you say how much damage I took?
Oh, sorry. You took 9 damage, so is that offset with your shield?
That offsets, so I would take 0 damage, but as Waltz goes to pick his shield back up, he realizes it's now broken.
Oh, dang.
Nice.
Whoopsies.
Ooh, gonna have to use your sword for once, bro.
Yeah, I guess so.
Will he do it?
You hear, oh no, Waltz, your shield! Glorm's in the crowd on Whisk's shoulders. Come on, Waltz, you can do it!
Yeah, I guess for the first time, Waltz is pretty scared right now. Less for himself and if he might die, but more for the consequences that would occur if he were to die in this battle and Borek were to stay the leader of the Drake Knights. So he's definitely breathing pretty heavy. And I'll just try and slow down that breathing from... And he'll take one final breath in, drop his shield, and pull out his longsword, and I'll go ahead and try and attack Borek with the longsword.
Oh man, using your sword. Haven't done this since your origin episode.
Haven't
What's
done
a
it in a while,
sword?
dude. I would like to use my hero point.
Alright.
This is going great.
That one loses his shield, burns his hero point.
I went from a 5 to a 2.
No.
It's not
Hero
meant to be,
points are
bro.
the worst.
Change your dice.
All right, so Waltz goes to
This
swing
game's so hard.
and rolls a 11.
Did
All
you
right.
pay for the higher dice roll DLC by chance?
I guess not.
Pay to win. I'm running a pay to win campaign. If you pay me $5, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
All right, Waltz, you go to swing your sword, and Borek, again, with one arm, his heavy maul, raises it like it's nothing, giving him an extremely long reach, and he doesn't swing it, he just pokes your shoulder with it and pushes you out of reach with your sword as you swipe at air, and he laughs.
And just tackle or attempt to tackle Borek. So I
Oh,
wanna
if you just said you
grapple
tackled him, then I would have had no choice, but I guess since you're going to attempt, I'll make you roll for it.
him. Gosh dang it.
You could give him his hero point back.
So you're going to try and shove him.
Yeah,
Right.
got it. All right, I rolled a 16.
All right, you run up, frustrated, ducking under his extended maul while you have him exposed a little bit, and you go to push him in the chest, and you make direct contact, and he doesn't budge at all. And he looks down at your drool coming off of his boar-like tusks. And that'll take us to Borek. Borek looks down at you as you're looking up. I picture like, I don't know if anyone's seen the original Brawly, where Goku does this massive Kamehameha into Brawly at point blank, and he's just looking down at him, and Goku's like, "Gah!" Like, oh crap.
Yeah, yeah.
I made a terrible mistake.
I like how often we're just like, have you seen this movie? This is what I want to do from that movie.
You know, there's at least one person that's
Every
seen all the
time.
movies we reference, and I'm like, dude, yes, I get it.
Exactly that, yes.
All right, so he is going to shove you back to get you away from him a little bit, and does a 21 beat your fortitude DC.
Yes, it does. Sure
So
does.
he one arm shoves you with his offhand that doesn't have the maul in it, and you stumble back 5 feet, and you realize he's not running at you to close the distance yet, and he says,
You must not know me, boy. I fought in the pits of Garta. If that didn't kill me, you surely won't.
and he lumbers forward and is going to swing his maul again at you.
Oh no.
And an 11 does not hit you, I'm assuming. So you feel like you understand the speed of his attacks now from the first one, and as he charges it up over his head, telegraphing his movement, you wait until he starts his downward swing and sidestep, and it bashes onto the ground of the stage and cracks some of the wood, and you hear the crowd gasp. And that'll take us back to you, Waltz.
GM Zach Ernesti, I just want to get a lay of the land. Can you give me what my battlefield looks like? Any debris that's in the way, if there's any ropes, what the stage looks like?
Yeah, you're in the center of a 25 by 25 feet wooden stage, and it's just a wooden platform with a crowd around it.
Okay, so there's nothing around me that I can use.
No, Mr. Improvise. Looks like you have to fight this guy with your weapon.
It's a totally a Waltz
Interesting.
thing, though, to be like, this is a good
Sounds
time
like
to
anything
look
else I can
around.
do?
Yeah. Sounds like 1v1 combat.
I don't want to use one of my actions for that though.
I mean, you saw the stage enough, like plenty of times, so
Okay. Yeah, Waltz will attack him again with his longsword.
do it.
He's gonna give him a swing and try and kill him.
That's is what you should be doing.
That's a good idea.
I think you might have to roll for that.
God,
Uh-oh.
16.
That hits.
Really?
Yeah. So you notice he's not really wearing much
Golly.
armor. He's just shirtless, and he's big and meaty and fairly slow. And you hit him.
6 damage.
All right. So you go to slash your sword outward, letting out a yell as you swing, and you just graze across his bare chest, and you see a slash and a cut slowly form, and some blood trickle down. You know you made contact.
Waltz will take a sigh of relief, thinking that he maybe has gained a little bit of confidence in finding his rhythm a little bit. Quick question for the GM, Zacharnesty. If I were to take out a different weapon, do I have the deduction from a subsequent attack with a different weapon?
Yes, you do. Unless that weapon has the agile trait, in which case your reduction would be a little bit less. But it also takes an action to pull out another weapon. So
Right.
and you'd have to drop that weapon if you don't want to stow it, and then pick it up and all that stuff. So
Waltz is going to attack him again with his longsword. So I rolled a 13.
that misses. So you see him looking down at this cut, sort of puzzled that you actually landed a hit on him, and then he snaps to as you're swinging again and just sort of swipes your arm to the side as you kind of stumble forward, missing your sword strike.
I'll try and grapple him again.
Okay.
Finally, I got a nat 20.
Let's
Oh,
go.
nice.
All right, I won. Did it.
All right, so on a critical success of a grapple, your target is restrained until the end of your next turn. So as long as you maintain restraining him. So you can basically have a whole turn to talk to him or something if you want, or whatever. So yeah, you breathe heavily, realizing that your sword isn't as effective as you may have hoped, and you're just filled with this anxious energy, and you run forward and tackle Borek, pinning his arms to his side, and have restrained him. And you hear, "Yeah, get him, Waltz! Oh wow, he's so strong." So you have him restrained until the end of your next turn, unless you
Okay.
move or your target escapes. So let's see if he escapes. Does a 26 beat your athletics DC?
Yes.
All right.
That's a yes.
So you have
it
his
sure
arms to
does.
his side, and you look up at him, and he's looking down at you, and the blood is running down his chest, and he goes,
You're gonna pay for that one.
you see a vein form on his forehead, his muscles flare, and his arms erupt outwards, breaking free of your constraint, and he enters a rage as he picks the maul up over his head, and we're gonna cut to Dax.
Jeez.
Thank goodness.
So Dax, your head is hung low as you step out of Dunadast's cell. Not wanting to look back, you simply look down at the empty vial in your hand.
Dax is thinking about everything that's led to this, and the longer he thinks about it, the angrier he gets. He fled Dracus for a simpler life. He wanted to settle down, to stop having to be on the run all the time. Of course, since he's been here, it's been nothing but chaos, and the people he has finally allowed himself to care about have been put in situations all because of Sindor, and so he's really starting to grow bitter and angry. So what starts as sadness, and as Dax is looking down at the empty vial in his hand, he'll just kind of squeeze it, grit his teeth. You'd maybe see his nostrils flare, and he's thinking that he can't let this continue. Like, he doesn't really care anymore. He wants to see an end to Sindor. At this point, Dax is thinking it's him or me. I don't know that he'll stop until Sindor is dealt with at this point. So he'll keep squeezing the vial, just letting out some of that frustration, and you hear a sharp crack, and then maybe a little bit of blood pours out of his hand as the vial breaks in his hand, and he'll just throw it to the ground. I gotta put a stop to this. And he'll look around the room he's in and notice the chains, the same chains that were hanging Dunadast up, but in the other cells, and recall that Dunadast had mentioned that he'd need something pretty robust to get into the building that the Arcanor is in through the top. And he'll take the keys that he that he had to open the cell. He'll open some of the other cells and take off the chains from the walls and stow them in his bag. And as he makes his way towards the exit, he'll stop at the base of the stairs and turn to Dunadast and give one kind of quick glance. He doesn't like what he sees, but he'll give a quick glance to Dunadast and say, I'm going to end this. And he'll turn and walk up the stairs.
So you exit the dark dungeons. You're ascending the stairwell. You reach the door that you had stuffed your pick under to wedge it close. You kneel down and pull it out. And as you're kneeling down, you hear a lot of chanting on the other side of the door. And you hear, Waltz, 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 and Borek, Borek, and gasps and cheers and all sorts of noise on the other side of this door.
I will open the door slowly and look at where the fight is going on, see what's going on there.
So as you open the door and you look through a little crack, you see Waltz on stage raise his shield, get bashed by a maul, stumble backwards, toss his broken shield to the side, run and swing his sword, cut the guy, run up, try and tackle him. The guy breaks free and he's preparing to do another swing, so you can tell that Waltz isn't faring too well. But have this dilemma of, this is an excellent distraction, or is there something I should do?
Recognizing this fight as a perfect distraction, it's a pretty exciting fight. Everybody seems really into it, so I don't think there's going to be a better time than right now. So, kind of under his breath, Dax will say, come on, Waltz, you got this. And he will kind of scurry along the wall, hugging the wall, making his way up towards that domed building that houses the Arcanor.
All right. Can you roll me a stealth check with a +4 circumstance bonus?
I'm going to use my hero point.
All right.
No, I won't, actually. I'm going to keep that. 17.
Okay. You pause for a moment thinking if you should help your friend, but know that this is a very dire situation and you may not get a better opportunity. And open the door just wide enough, scurry out, and start moving along the wall, ducking behind crates as you go. And we'll cut back to Waltz. So Waltz, Borek, has a small above his head. He's going to swing it downward at you.
Oh, no.
Does a 22 hit you?
Does.
Oof, buddy, you got to do something.
I'm trying, man.
I'm trying, bro.
Try harder.
13 damage.
Roger.
So the maul crunches down on your shoulder and you stumble backwards. The crowd gasps.
Oh, no, Waltz, come on, do something. You're so smart. You're so strong, too.
And Borek is going to attempt to demoralize you and raises his maul above his head, looking to the crowd, drawing from his gladiator roots where he fought in the pits of Gartha, and chants to the crowd, and the whole crowd erupts, and he's going to attempt to demoralize you, and he nat 20s. Dude, I swear I'm not.
Oh my gosh.
I believe it. Hey, it is what it is.
Okay. You are frightened 2. You are gripped by fear and struggle to control your nerves. Your frightened condition always includes a value. You take a status penalty equal to this value to all your checks and DCs. Oh no. Unless specified otherwise, at the end of each of your turns, the value of your frightened condition decreases by 1. So for at least 2 rounds, you're going to take a penalty. So you're going to take a -2 penalty to all of your rolls. As you can tell that Borek's confident, you haven't done anything to make him think that he is going to lose, and just from him saying how experienced he is, you feel like he would know if he has the upper hand, and that truly cuts deep, demoralizes you, and it is your turn.
Roger that. Okay. Waltz will attack him with his long sword again. He'll grip it with both hands and give an overhand swing, more out of fright, I guess, than anger at this point.
All right.
It stayed on 16 for a little bit and then just went to 3.
Oof.
So yeah, it's
Something's out to get you.
All right.
10 I think.
So you go to swing as his back's towards you, as he's yelling to the crowd, savoring all of the admiration he is getting, and you feel like you can catch him off guard, but as you swing, he turns around, and as he's turned perpendicular to you. You just miss and swipe past his back, and your sword sticks into the wood. And he turns around.
First time fighting, boy.
Waltz will frantically look around, pull his sword from the wood, and use step.
Okay.
It doesn't trigger a reaction, right? He doesn't get an attack
Exactly.
opportunity. So I'll take one step back away from him, and I'll use my last action to pull out the dagger that Dunadas gave me in my other hand.
Nice.
All right. Borek cocks an eyebrow like,
If that sword didn't work, what makes you think that little pick will?
and he lumbers towards you, dragging his maul along the wood, and then picks it up over his head and is going to do another strike. And a 13 does not hit you, does it?
Negative.
About time.
So you're sort of dancing on the tips of your toes, bouncing up and down, ready to dodge. He goes to swing, and you dodge to the side, and it bashes into the stage again, splinters the wood, and then he lets out a frustrated yell as he's going to horizontally swing this. Again, something you're very impressed he can do with such a heavy weapon, and definitely misses. So you duck under this one, and his eyes grow wide, seeing that you're gaining some confidence and successfully dodging some attacks. That'll take us back to you.
All right, Borek. And Waltz will attack him with his longsword.
Do it.
Finally, 25.
Oof. And when he is raging, he takes a -1 status to his AC, which makes his AC 15, which makes that a critical hit, bro!
Math.
Okay, we can do this.
We got it, sir.
Got it. You can do it.
We just won Pathfinder.
Roll 2d8s and add your modifier to each one.
Okay.
Tootie.
14.
Oh my goodness. You needed that, bro. So as his maul sticks into the ground and he's going to pick it up, you know that's his biggest opening, and you go with your sword in one hand and slash downward and cut deep into his muscle, into his shoulder, trying to weaken that arm that he's used to manipulate this weapon so easily. You can see a huge gash form and blood run down it. The crowd gasps.
Yes, Waltz, you got it. That boy, Waltz, you can do it.
And you have dealt a lot of damage to him, and you see him stagger for the first time, and he grabs that gash and looks at the blood on his hand and clenches his fists and starts to tremble with rage. What do you do with your second action?
As soon as he clenches his fist, I want to take my dagger overhand and try and stab him.
All right. And that's an agile weapon, so your penalty is only -4 for this.
Come on, Waltz.
Let's get it.
Another 3. So not good. Like maybe I think it's a 10.
All right. So you go to swing it, and he sucks back just enough so your decreased reach with that dagger as your downward slash. You just miss him, perhaps grazes some of his chest hair.
Okay, then I'll use my last action to step one more time to put my back on the edge of the stage.
All right. So you step backwards, your heels scoot against the edge of the stage. You feel a tug on your pant leg and look down and see Glorm.
You got it, buddy. You can do this.
Thanks, Glorm.
And that'll take us back to Borek. Borek is panting.
Lucky strike.
So he's going to use an ability he has called Furious Finish. He is no longer playing around. He feels he's underestimated you a bit, and he needs to finish this fight now because he may not survive another blow like the one you just landed. He's going to pour all of his rage into this blow, meaning whatever happens, his rage is over after he does this because he's putting all of his energy into this strike.
I get it now.
Ooh. So however many rounds he has remaining in his rage, that's how much damage he gets to add to this if he lands it.
Oh, dang. That's pretty
Okay.
cool, though.
Yeah, fantastic. Wish I had that spell.
Oh my goodness. Taryn, does a 23 hit you?
It sure does.
Ugh.
It sure does hit me.
Zach, we're not supposed to lose. We're the heroes.
we
Luckily
change
it
the
didn't roll
difficulty
too
setting?
well. 11 damage.
Roger that.
So he swings across as you're teetering on the edge of the stage. You try and step to the side as it comes down, but he adjusts, expecting that move, and it crunches down on top of your back as you're starting to weave under, and it makes you fall to a knee with your one arm out extended, just keeping you upright as you sort of stumble back to your feet, hazy, disoriented. And are you still standing?
I'm still standing.
Okay. All right. He looks at you,
nervous.
exhausted, just panting heavily. You can tell he put a lot into that swing, and you see concern in his face that you're still up as you're both swaying back and forth. And he says,
Your luck will run out eventually.
"It is your turn."
What's the matter, Borek? Getting tired? And I'll overhand swing my sword at him.
All right. Do it.
Am I still frightened or no
No,
Moss?
you're no longer frightened. Yep.
28, baby!
Yes.
Ooh, that is another critical hit.
Let's
Feeling
do it.
hot,
Let's get some
hot.
better
Yes.
damage here. Let's get some better damage here, boys. What do you say?
Yeah, kill him.
I say that's
Do
a
it.
great idea,
That
Taryn.
sounds nice.
That wasn't very
Yeah.
good. That was good, though.
Cool.
Okay,
That wasn't very good, but that was good though.
18.
I like that number.
I like it a lot.
As he's stumbling, you raise your sword above your head, and you can feel yourself wobble as well, exhausted. And you go to swing downward, and you cleave it into his trap, and it cuts deep down into his chest, and you see blood shoot out as you pull the sword out. And he stumbles, staggers, blood is shooting everywhere. He's panting, waning. But he's still alive.
Waltz will mirror that motion on the other side and do a downward strike with his dagger and put all his weight into it.
All right. The crowd is on edge. It is completely silent as they all hold their breath.
25.
That's
Go.
gonna be
24.
Oh, that's a
sorry.
regular hit.
So
Yeah.
dang,
Damage.
so close.
Integrity, you know.
Yeah, it's nice.
I respect it.
Max damage, 8 damage, and I just want to leave the dagger in him.
Waltz. Yeah. Like how he knows you got him. Waltz, you sprint up, jump to match his height. He's a good 1.5 feet taller than you. You jump, raise the dagger above your head, come down and stab it deep into his skull as you land on the ground, and his eyes look at you, glazed over. The crowd is completely silent. He drops them all. It thuds on the ground, bouncing. He wanes for a moment, and then timber falling backwards, hitting the ground, and there's a long silence, and the crowd erupts. Everyone's cheering. The crowd erupts. Dax, as you're nearing the base of Scale Keep, you look back, see all the cheering. Waltz standing there, waning back and forth.
Dax will just kind of glance over to that stage area and just kind of give a little nod. Good. And then duck behind the next box on his way.
All right. Waltz, you're standing there, breathing heavily. People are cheering for you. You're looking at the first person you've killed since that orc back in Mandaru. And I don't know if Waltz made a conscious decision at that point not to kill again, but it seems like he has. So how is Waltz feeling having just done this?
Waltz will immediately drop his sword. Obviously, he doesn't have his dagger anymore, and he'll go up to the body of Borek and try and hold him, see if there's any consciousness there. But he'll try and do anything he can to administer first aid to him. He is glad that he defeated him, but he wants to save his life if there's any way that he can.
So Waltz, after the frenzy of that battle that sort of dictated what you had to do, you weren't able to think through everything. You're just trying to survive. You knew you had to win. And when you kneel down by him, as your caring nature takes over again, you look and realize that you planted that dagger firmly in his head, and he is definitely dead. So it's almost like you didn't realize you did that, and the finality of your actions are now facing you head on.
Waltz will just stay there for a while and hang his head, kind of holding this human that he, or I guess not human, but holding this being that he just killed, and immediately feel maybe regret, but also understanding that there was also no other course of action to save more people, just feels helpless.
So as you're doing that and you're kneeling by this man, the goblin again that was announcing everything climbs onto stage.
Waltz, is it?
Waltz will keep his head down and not reply to the goblin.
Yeah, that's Waltz. Just give him a moment. He's really sensitive when people died. Yeah, like when Krim died, he was sad for days, I think. Yeah.
And then the goblin's like,
Okay. Well, I suppose this would make Waltz our new commander. Unless there's any other challengers.
and you hear,
Yeah, let me have a crack at these idiots.
and you turn your head, and the crowd is parting, and you see the gates of Scale Keep opened and starting to close as Geldir is limping into Scale Keep, holding his side, and that
Oh my
is where we'll end.
Jeez. Holy crap.
This is the best ending ever.
Unless someone stops me, I'm going to start talking about this.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
I'm
I
ready
want
to
to talk
talk
about
about
it
it.
too, Ryan. So I wouldn't
I
be better
better
not
not
get
get
stopped.
Say two
But
words.
contract dictates that I tell everyone to shut up because we
dang
talk
it,
about
that's
that.
not
Those were the 2 words. Zach. Those were the
this
2
close,
words.
man. I'm
Now
gonna miss
I can't
gracious.
talk.
That's gonna be a good
Now I guess
downtime. I
I'm
feel
just gonna
like.
have to wait to talk.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll talk about that in the downtime. You know how it goes. All right. So thank you guys for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you for all the reviews, the likes, the upvotes, all the positive feedback. It helps us out so much. We really appreciate it. It seriously is the fuel that keeps us going. So thank you for sticking with us for this long. If you could do us one favor though. Normally I ask for reviews and likes and all that stuff, but this time I'm going to say, hey, if you have a friend that you think would like Mortals and Portals and you're like, man, I'm too shy to tell him to listen to Mortals and Portals. Dude, it's your friend.
What
Go
if they
tell him.
say
Go tell him to
no?
listen to Mortals and Portals. They'd be like, hey, thanks for doing that. So yeah, if you could do that, if you have a friend. All my friends are in this podcast, so I can't even, if I tell them about it, they're like, I know I'm in this podcast. So you guys got to go out and tell your friends, please. It really helps us out. So thank
I'll
you
check
for
it
that.
out, Zach.
And I would like to thank Joel, who does all of our editing for vocals. Super tedious task. I mean, guys,
You're welcome.
like, seriously, we really appreciate all the work Joel's doing here. We're talking late nights. We're talking changing your schedule. Sometimes we use this program that, like, sometimes just messes up, and then Joel has to, like, redo stuff, and it's not even his fault. Doesn't that suck? And Joel has to deal with that. So thank you, Joel. And also, my mic's been having, like, weird problems where, like, I get quiet, and then Joel has to, like, manually amplify, like, just my voice at, like, certain parts as if his job wasn't hard enough. So,
Yeah.
dude, thank you, Joel. We really appreciate it.
It's all right.
Thanks,
That's
Joel.
a lot of extra work
Sorry
just
about
to
the
make it
squeaky
sound
chair.
good. So thank you. And I'd like to thank Taryn, who does all of our effects. Like, episode 20 where you guys are, like, blowing up the ship and stuff? That was so many effects in there. Taryn spent, like, forever on that, and it shows because, like, all of the smith shrieks, all the sword strikes, all the explosions, the water,
The ore blast.
just the dusting of clothes off, just all these things that add so much ambience to it. It, like, sends this into the next level. So thank you so much for doing that, Taryn. Like, I promise you, like, it's one of those things that sounds like, oh, you know, there's only X amount of sound effects, you just gotta drop them in. It's like, no, you gotta listen to the whole episode. You gotta decide, like, at what point is good for sound effects. You gotta pour through sound effects. You gotta pick the right one. You gotta put it in. You gotta put it at the right volume. You gotta tweak it. You know, sometimes you have to combine, like, 5 effects that sound like one, and it's just, it's a lot of work. So thank you for doing that, Taryn. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, fellas.
And I'd like to thank Adam, who does all of our original artwork. I'm sure you've seen it by now, and if you haven't, what the heck are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah,
Pull out your phone right
actually,
now and
though.
go to our Reddit or our Instagram, or heck, go to our Patreon, because there's even more art on there, and just check out this art,
Yeah.
because this dude is, like, insanely talented, man. Like,
It's on there.
Really, really good stuff. And it's just so fun, like, listening to a session and then watching Adam bring it to life with the Patreon sketches. And just kind of, like, cementing those moments, and it's kind of like this visual guide for kind of how to picture some of this world, and it's just really, really fun. And it's really cool for me because, like, I, like, vaguely imagine these things, like, they work in my head, but then Adam, it's like he has this ability to, like, perfectly understand what I was thinking, but then, like, fill in the gaps with all the extra detail that, like, I wouldn't think of. So
Agreed.
thank you for doing that, Adam. Super awesome. And I'd like to thank Ryan, who does all of our original music. That's right, I said original, and I'm sure you've noticed they're getting pretty crazy, man. There's all sorts of crazy instruments and sounds, and, like, it's to the point where I'm, like, listening to this, and I'm like, I have to take a moment to be like, isn't it crazy that Ryan can just do this, like, for us? Like cinematic music is is like way more complicated than I would think. Like when I really start to listen to the music and just all the layers and overlapping and like tones and stuff that he's hitting. And like episode 20 was a great example with the pirate ship blowing up and all that stuff, like that heroic music in the fight, like throughout, it just really like sets the tone. Super cool. So really,
I'm learning
appreciate all
that this
hard
keyboard
work.
actually plays notes when you hit them in the right order, rather than just kind of smashing everywhere and seeing what it sounds like.
Yeah, you were just banging with your fist drunk for a while, but I mean, it got
that
us
was
this far.
originally my plan. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could have fooled me, dude. It was sounding great. So yeah, thank you guys. Love you guys. You guys are awesome. And thank you, listeners. And we'll see you next time, mortals. Dax, now Dunadast's wife walks in and goes, "What the heck?"
with his 2 children.
You monster! He has dementia. Daddy. He didn't even know what he was saying. The Arcanor doesn't even exist.
Oh my god.